floating remains of his wife. This is the story of 39-year-old Kimon Bisogno and her husband Diego, a couple who learned one another's language just to fall in love and to be able to speak to each other before having a daughter and opening a restaurant together. The three of them had a beach day planned on a September day in 2022 at Plettenberg Bay, South Africa. But only two would walk away. Kimon headed out to the ocean in waist-deep water, knowing Diego and 5-year-old Luna would join her soon enough after Luna finished her breakfast back at the motel. But just as Diego and Luna were arriving to the beach, standing on the sand, finally spotting Kimon in the water with her back turned to them, a 14-foot-long great white shark hurled itself at Kimon, mouth open, and engulfed her entire torso in its mouth in the blink of an eye. Only her head and lower legs were hanging out of either side of the shark's mouth. Diego immediately grabbed Luna's head and buried it into his chest to shield her from witnessing this gruesome sight, and the 10 or so swimmers around Kimon instantly scattered, some grabbing their children to run towards the shore as this huge shark shook Kimon from side to side. Everyone, that is, except one elderly man who ran towards the attack to help Kimon, but was rocked by the head of this huge shark as it was thrashing side to side, and this elderly man was sent several feet over, crashing into the water. At this point, the elderly man's wife ran and grabbed him and screamed for him to get back onto the shore, as she refused to also lose him to this great white shark. So now, as beachgoers called for emergency services, Kimon stopped screaming, and the great white swam off, her torso in its mouth, and her two separate remains floating on the surface. But not long after that, the shark circled back and returned, only to bite off Kimon's left thigh, taking piece after piece now of her body. And watching all of this unfold, Diego could no longer stand by and just watch this, even though he knew there was no saving the life of his wife. Then he shoves Luna into the arms of the elderly man's wife and ran towards the water to save what was left of Kimon. But at that point, the old man saw what he was planning to do and grabbed him and held him with all of his might, despite his bruised ribs from this shark encounter, and told Diego, "Think of your little girl and what will become of her if he runs straight into his death as well." This elderly man, along with several other beachgoers who came by pretty quickly, held Diego there until the shark was clearly satisfied and was long gone from the scene, and they let him go. And so when authorities finally arrived, they would find Diego weeping in waist-deep water, standing right in the middle of Kimon's ravaged body.